Hey, hello. I just restarted the stream seconds before the timer hit 0, so I am gonna give people a minute to get back in if that's what's going on. Yeah, I ended up as soon as I went live, I started getting internet connection problems, and this is a 6 a.m. stream. So I was thinking, I'm doing experiments, seeing what works and doesn't in terms of my connection methods. I've been using Wi-Fi up until a few moments ago, and I've had generally at first probably better results than would normally be expected via Wi-Fi for doing streaming broadcasts. So I just stuck with what worked, and then I started getting a lot of connection problems and really bad drop frames later in the day when I'd stream, and maybe it's because more people were online or on Twitch then. But in the morning streams I'd do, I'd had perfectly fine results, so I kind of just said, okay, maybe it's just a morning thing. I wanted to set up my Ethernet cable with my PC instead of the little chintzy adapter that it came with, but I just didn't have time to. But for the first time in a morning stream, I was having lots of drop frames, so I just went ahead and set up the cable in the last couple of minutes. And I think I have my cable and my Wi-Fi connected right now, and I haven't gotten any drop frames yet. So I'll take that as a sign that this was a good setup to go with, and that the cable's making a difference. So let's play Wario Ware for 70 minutes. That sounds decent. I'm not gonna go with the on-screen timer this time around, but you know, if people like the on-screen timer, maybe I'll bring it back. But for right now, I don't know. It just seems like I want to give people a fair chance of what to expect during the stream. I don't want people to get into the stream and then be kind of shocked when it ends. Or when it switches games. I don't know. Suspend point loaded. I would rather it be set up via virtual console, such as that when you start up the game, I'd like it to start up from here by default. Instead it just starts up from the suspend point, which in my case is right as I reset the game. Because I mean I even have the little Game Boy Advance frame set up here, so I'd rather have it be more like, you know, turning on a Game Boy Advance. You know, I turned on the game just a few minutes ago. I brought up the Wii U Virtual Console, and it was acting in the strangest way, it was acting in a way that I guess I could describe it as there was just this weird music playing, and I thought something was wrong with my setup or something like that, and I didn't really know what to make of it. You know, there's something very specific about the way I'm sitting that's making a difference between when I'm just sitting here working on the computer doing writing work or video editing or something like that, and then as soon as I start streaming, all of a sudden I'm having problems with, you know, symptoms in terms of sitting down for a long time. So I'm trying a different pose with how I'm holding the controller, so hopefully I could sit here and play the game and stream with the same level of comfort that I have as when I'm just sitting here normally. I'm still gonna take a break an hour in, and then we'll play Mario Party 2. We're probably gonna finish the game. That just means finishing the last game board. Give another shot at this, and then get into some of the microgame mixes. But WarioWare was one of those games that really kind of predicted the quick play format of mobile games once, you know, they became a more mainstream thing on cell phones. Well, I mean, in Japan, I understand that mobile gaming on those flip phones that were using, I guess, what was called iMode, this sort of early mobile internet thing before just standard web pages became accessible on smartphones, which really I don't think started up. I don't remember just regular web pages being a thing that that was accessible via mobile devices until the iPhone. Because there was all kinds of ideas of like, oh, the mobile web, where it's kind of this separate thing. Where it's like, oh, you could access Yahoo, but it was this really weird cut down version of Yahoo. Or there was infamously WAP, which is this little purely text-based mobile web thing from like I think the late 90s and very early 2000s. Like, I remember it being a big deal when the Cyberco got a WAP browser, that you needed to have another Cyberco hooked up. Yeah, I started talking about Cyberco and that jinxed me, so. Alright, let's go to easy, which is just, I think, the general microgame mix without any boss stages. Variety Tower. Oh, how could I miss that one? No, you know why? It's the physics of that microgame are different from how the jumping physics are in Super Mario Bros., even though I haven't really played that game for months. Aside from brief moments of, fix my chair so it, there we go. Yeah, the jumping physics were different from the jumping physics in Super Mario Bros., so I ended up missing it. Yeah, last stream we unlocked this, because this is this mode is just a mix of all the different themes of microgames. Because the microgames are broken up into themes, so this is really the first one where... Okay. So this is the first time we're playing the mix of them all. Like this microgame, I don't even remember getting when we were actually playing the main theme that was from. Oh. Like, I wonder if this guy's like one of the staff that took a weird picture laying down just to be used as a paddle against a watermelon. I don't know. I just realized Wario, that's supposed to be Wario. That's such an interesting how they decided to make that have an LCD framing. Mario, I never played Mario Paint before, so that microgame was kind of lost on me, but I don't think that was actually in like 8-bit stages. When this should have been that right there. That should have been its own mini game, as like a time trial thing that you have to, or a high score attack sort of mini game. But we'll see how far we get on our first run through this, and then we'll switch to 8-bit games for a while, because we definitely did see all of them. Aww. I used to have a dog that he would actually just give you his paw just as a gesture of affection. We never trained him to do that. If you were just petting him and he was happy, he would just be like, oh. So. And the thing is, he wasn't the kind of dog that was intelligent in the way of problem solving or doing tricks. Yeah, it wasn't the kind of dog that does tricks and stuff like that, so it was really cute that he would just, if you're petting him, he'd just be like, oh, take my paw. So, hey, cat's eye. We're using a physical hardline cable for the internet connection for the first time. I set it up literally about 30 seconds before the stream went live, with absolutely no preparation to do so, because, well, I mean, we were live, but before I, was due to start gameplay and actually appear on camera. I did there we go. That takes, identifying what an actual original Game Boy Advance looks like is a lot harder now than it probably was back then, because there's so many, like, clone systems and emulation handhelds that, there's something that looks almost just like a legit GBA, but adds X and Y buttons. Shucks. Yeah, so excuse me, it is 6:10 over here, so. But for this, it's more than worth it. And I meant to make up at 5, but I said when I woke up at 5, I gave myself 15 more minutes, so it was a bit more of a rush than it should have been. I mean, I didn't even eat breakfast. I just went ahead and set things up. Yeah, but the fact of my first few streams having went like flawlessly with a cheapo Wi-Fi adapter that came with my refurb Office PC that I'm playing and that I'm using to operate the stream, I guess it was probably because I did a test stream without just using the Wi-Fi, and the reason I did that stream was just to see how much better the actual hardline cable would be. But because that went so well, I just kept using it, and I was really shocked by how well it went. I was asking people. I have some test streams I did on a burner account that only like 1 or 2 people know about, and I was like, oh shucks. And I was like, are you sure it really does like look good? And like, yeah, it looks great, keep using it. So I used it while it worked good, but then I kept having pretty consistently lots of drop frame problems. And it was, until today, it wasn't happening when I do the early... Oh, I just barely made that. It wasn't happening when I do the early morning streams. But this time, it was happening, so I just had barely enough time to get the cable out and hook it up. Actually, I hadn't really used a physical Ethernet cable for anything in probably a decade, so I wasn't sure. I was paranoid I wouldn't be able to actually get it hooked up properly, but it's the first stream where... There we go. That's a very that was supposed to be a depiction of Wario, and it ends up looking like a weird version of Ganondorf or something. Yeah, this is one of those games that really kind of predicted, Jake GC, the sort of quick play format that is now, popular with mobile games. And it makes it... I'm kind of surprised that this wasn't one of the first games to get an Android and iOS release, or not or an adaptation, a unique WarioWare game for mobile devices. Because when you have WarioWare Twisted on Game Boy Advance, it uses an accelerometer-like device built into the cartridge. Then you have WarioWare Touched, which made use of the touchscreen to excellent effect. That I thought this would have been one of the no-brainers for a mobile version. And it's funny seeing WarioWare Touched and WarioWare Twisted use, a tilt sensor and a touchscreen at times when a lot of people in, I guess the mainstream gaming world criticized those functions as being gimmicks that had no place in a proper game. And I just remember when at E3 2004, when they first revealed the Nintendo DS prototype, Nintendo was handing out these little styluses, these light-up styluses that had a little medallion on a keychain attached to the stylus that said the future of portable gaming, and people were like, no, how, Nintendo's mistaken, well, they didn't say Nintendo's mistaken, they said, no, Nintendo are idiots, no one, touchscreens are just a gimmick, PSP is the future, that, no, touchscreens aren't gonna last. You know, there's just a gimmick Nintendo's throwing in to try to catch up with PSP because they have better technology. And then when it's time for the successor to PSP, of course, it has a touchscreen because by then, touchscreens are, you know, standard in mobile gaming. Okay. And it's kind of a variation for mobile games now to even have buttons. You know, that sets, you know, the Nintendo Switch apart. Yeah, that's another thing. I wasn't gonna mention that then just because, oh, you played Wario Twisted on the, okay, it was on an Android emulator. I just saw emulator. I'm like, they pulled off Wario Twisted on PC emulation? That's pretty impressive. But yeah, I can see how that could work on a mobile emulator. I've made it a long time on just one life, actually. A lot longer than I should, especially since I was talking. There we go. Yeah, I remember just reading the Electronic Gaming Monthly coverage. I mean, they were a lot fairer to the DS than they were than like a lot of the online forums were, and a lot of the online articles that were just assuming DS was just going to be the next Virtual Boy. It would be out for a few months, and no one was really going to buy it except Nintendo fanboys. And no third parties were going to make games for it. And I mean, like, when you look at 2004, 2005, and the lead up to the PSP and DS launches, I remember, well, we'll start from when they first showed the mock-up for what the PSP would look like, and it wasn't a final version. Like, it had the mock-up for the PSP had these flush buttons. It was like a CG render, pretty much. It had these flush buttons that looked almost like they might have been like capacitive buttons where there wasn't a physical clicking mechanism to them, or a switch mechanism where you just touch them, and they had this, and like the control stick was, oh shucks, I thought that was the other, I thought that was the normal version of the Microgame and not the WarioWare version. 89 points. Okay, so that's our high score. We'll go back to it. Oh, we unlocked something else. Oh, is this the hard mode? For the throwing. Okay. There is. Oops. I didn't mean to do that. It's all bosses. This is... You can't... Oh, you could earn 1-ups with easy mode. Okay. Oh, you can't earn 1-ups. Okay, in the regular mixes... There should be a mix where that's an easy mode, but you can also earn 1-ups, I think. Let's play 8-bit stage and get, I mean, 9-volt stage. I keep calling him 8-bit. That would be, I guess, the more obvious name to give him. Yeah, I don't even think that was a physical prototype. I think it was just a mock-up of what it looked like, and I would just stare at that picture for hours. I was not like, oh, I'm pro Sony, I'm pro Nintendo. It wasn't about that to me. It was, to me, my first system was the Game Gear. So for so long, hey, Missy Merlin, hey, thanks for the support last time you made it into stream. I think I tried saying hi to you on whatever sites you're on, but I don't think there was a lot of recent activity on them or something, so I just said, oh, I'll just wait till they show back up and stream again. You know. Because we all have various sites that we don't post on so often these days. I do... Oh yeah, the Boomerang controller for the PS5. It's funny how they kind of went back to... They kind of went back to that design, because really it looks like the PS5 controller was the first time since the Boomerang prototype from E3 2005 that they you know, Sheriff there, they ought to go back and it's amazing that they never made any new version of any modern version of Sheriff, but yeah, the dual. Oh, okay. Yeah. I forgot which site I even contacted you on, so don't worry about it. Life happens. and it wasn't at all urgent. Yeah, there was nothing urgent about the message. I don't even remember what site I contacted you on. When I can't even remember what site I contacted you on, you certainly shouldn't have to apologize for not responding. It was clearly a not urgent thing, because I think I contacted you like a week or two after the stream. I think it was my very first stream where you appeared. And I do plan to go back to Sonic the Hedgehog for Game Gear, both in terms of just, you know, I want to go back and beat it with the Chaos Emeralds. I want to get a, sort of memorize it, and get a feel for, you know, like those maze-like stages in Scrap Brain, and be able to do maybe a sort of 90s-ish walkthrough video on YouTube. Yeah, they do kind of remind you of those weird prototypes that you'd see, or mock-ups you'd see back then. Yeah. There we go. Okay, that was scary. That was a little hairy for a second. Like, am I gonna get it? Am I gonna get through to the end or not? V. There we go. Yeah, a lot of these games. When this game came out, this was before the Wii Virtual Console existed. Like, the only real references to older Nintendo games were the two Smash Brothers games that were out at the time. So a lot of the microgames that appeared here are some of the only times, like this year. This is the first time people outside of Japan ever heard of, oh, oops, that was, I did not mean to do that, I swear. Or did I? I mean, that was, yeah, I did not, yeah, I forgot how that microgame worked, and I just ended up, Game & Wario, I think the one on Wii U was called. I think that's... It seems like a good microgame compilation in terms of... Yeah, in terms of, I guess, just games that make use of the gamepad and the TV screen. But in terms of being a WarioWare game, I could see it probably being disappointing based on the way... Yeah, I thought those games, like that Hogan's Alley... I never played... The problem with... I never played the real Hogan's Alley, so I was always just used to the... I guess I just remembered it working like they would be just, like, two bad guys and one civilian. So I just saw, like, the woman in pink who was obviously a civilian, and so I just assumed the other two were the villains. Shucks. Yeah, the game, I mean, especially, I guess the first time I played this, like, I never played Hogan's Alley, and all of the pre-Famicom, like, physical Nintendo games, like the Chirotori, that little vacuum, remote-control vacuum thing, the Wild Gunman, that was the actual physical dummy that you shot with a light gun in an actual, like, electronic shooting range. I guess those are some of the harder games for me to and that Virtual Boy game, like the Wario Clash thing, I do believe that's probably one of the only playable references to Virtual Boy Nintendo's ever had in a game since the Virtual Boy itself. Okay. 64, 65, 66, 66. Okay, okay. We beat our high score by 1 point. Let's go back to the microgames. I mean, the variety one. Well, let's do the Nintendo themed ones one more time. Then we'll go back to variety mode. Yeah. So Sonic pajamas. I have one Sonic the Hedgehog shirt that I got in 2005 or 6. And the first time I put it through the washer and dryer, it deteriorated a lot, and the shirt was, you can probably see it in, I don't know if I ever wore it on stream yet, but the shirt was a shirt that is, it has just like, it has like the classic Sonic and Tails doing the thumbs up pose, And it looks like a shirt that actually would have been out in '92, even though, as I remember, there wasn't that much gaming or Sonic the Hedgehog wearable merchandise, especially... Well, at the time I would have been a little kid, but... Like, there's more... Like, there's... As I remember it, there's more, like, Mario and gaming shirts. And Mario in particular. There are more Mario shirts and merchandise now than there was in the early 90s, as I remember it. Like, some of the Mario stuff I remember was, like, the tie-ins for, like, you know, Kool-Aid Jammers and stuff like that. Where they'd have, like tips on... I don't know if it was Kool-Aid Jammers, but it was some Kool-Aid juice box thing. And I remember there being commercials for getting those Kool-Aid juice boxes that had Mario Bros. 3 tips on them at the same time that they are running commercials, some of the earliest commercials for Super Mario World, because it's easy to forget now, in the United States, Super Mario Bros. 3 came out about a year or less before Super Mario World on Super Nintendo came out. Because those were, you know, two different generations, but in the US, the way things played out, the Super Mario World came out the year after Super Mario Bros. 3 on NES. But yeah, I'm definitely going back to Sonic the Hedgehog for Game Gear. I'm gonna go back to it probably in general, it's just because this is what I'm considering like a warm-up game. Here, today I'm playing it an hour because it is pretty a new game, but that's something I could go back to for just like a half hour or something, especially since right now, both of the games I'm playing happen to be on the Wii U Virtual Console, so it's something I could very easily, you know, switch out of. That is a tricky game because the physics, the jumping physics there are not like the original Super Mario Brothers at all. Type N. There we go. A Famicom keyboard that never came out in North America. Okay, I made it. You know, and like the Game & Watch, like the... Okay, just barely made that one. Game & Watch compilations might... I'm surprised they never came out with any form of Game & Watch compilation game for the 3DS. I would have certainly bought it. Those were fantastic portable games. I mean, I've played, I guess, emulation, like simulations of the Game & Watch games. There we go. Yeah, I've played simulations of the Game & Watch games that are, I guess, basically the equivalent of emulation, but for like the early handheld games. And Nintendo's cracking down even on those, you know, like as a form of piracy. But they never do anything. I mean, you could say like, oh, they don't make NES games or Super NES games available like they should, so people resort to piracy. But like those little handheld games, most of those never even appeared in the Game & Watch Gallery games. I mean, yeah, you know, it's funny. A lot of people didn't realize Game & Watch existed until the Mr. Game & Watch character appeared in the Smash Brothers games. Oh, Virtual Boy. Yeah, well, that's true for Game & Watch 2 as well as Virtual Boy. Yeah, don't at all feel like you don't feel pressured to interact in chat. If you're busy, a lot of the best times I've had, you know, with some of the streamers I watch, are just, hey, there's someone I like well enough, apparently, playing a game I'm interested in and talking about it and related things while I'm. I forgot some of these. I forgot about these interludes after the bosses. What is my... I don't know what my high score is for this. Oh. Okay. I just have to focus for those keyboard parts, but yeah, that seems, well, in terms, oh shucks, that's it. Well, let's go for the airplane minigame again, then I'll go for the variety mode. Okay, 33, that's our high score in there. But like the DualSense controller, in terms of just the physical design alone and the look of it, is really the first serious departure from the DualShock layout. I mean, yeah, like the PS4 controller did kind of vary from it more than others, but they've all been based on the DualShock design. And what I've been saying about the DualShock controller since the PlayStation 1 era was that the Xbox, when you look at the Xbox controller, like that's a variation of the Dreamcast controller right down to using the YBAX button scheme. And I know there's been apparently some stuff revealed since then about there being negotiations at one point for the Xbox to potentially be compatible with Dreamcast games as Sega transitioned out of being a console manufacturer, and that may have influenced Microsoft adapting the YBAX face button layout instead of the XABY button layout that Nintendo has been using since '91. Give him one more shot. But, okay, if we can get 77, then that's improving our shucks. That's not even counting. Even get up to 5 there. But the DualShock, well, the PlayStation controller was a controller that was designed to be with compatibility with NES games in mind, with Super NES games in mind. So what you basically have in the original PlayStation controller was a more ergonomic Super NES gamepad with extra shoulder buttons added. You know, it has handles for comfort and extra shoulder buttons added. It was basically made with 2D games in mind. Then after N64, established analog sticks as being really great for 3D games. I think there was a non-rumbling analog controller that predated the DualShock. I don't even know if it came out in the US or it didn't last very long. It was very quickly replaced with the DualShock. I don't even remember the pre-rumbling analog PlayStation 1 controller. I just remember just suddenly there being the DualShock with the 2 analog sticks. I didn't even know, with the way they photographed it, I didn't even know that those were analog sticks at first. I thought those were 2 gigantic rubber motor things that provided the rumble or something like that. I didn't realize that they managed to... there was enough empty space in the PS1 controller that they were able to add in the rumble motors. Because, you know, when they added rumble to the N64 controller, that was a controller that didn't have much negative space in it, I guess, or empty space inside the frame of the controller shell. So they added it with that big, you know, battery-powered rumble pack that you inserted into the back of the controller. So when they added rumble to the PlayStation 1 controller, I just assumed that those big rubber things were the motors somehow. When I actually saw it in person, I understood that those were the analog sticks. And yeah, they did improve on the N64 controller from the standpoint that, okay, now the rumble is built in, you don't need extra batteries, and they replaced, well, they had the having that right analog stick, it let you be able to have analog camera controls and dedicated camera controls for 3D games without needing to sacrifice your face buttons. Because for games like, well, Zelda 64 worked, well, Zelda 64, I still call it that to this day. Ocarina of Time worked as well as it did because they decided on having fixed camera angles at the time and using those C buttons instead of for the camera for items. Because I didn't quite, I guess, understand at the time when I saw magazines saying what a bold move it was to bring Zelda into 3D in Ocarina of Time. I was like, well, yeah, of course it's going to be 3D, because Mario 64 is 3D. Why wouldn't Zelda be 3D? And looking back, I now understand what they mean. Ocarina of Time very well could have ended up being like Phantom Hourglass or Spirit Tracks, where you have polygonal 3D graphics, but the gameplay design is still a top-down 3D thing. Well, top-down 2D light style thing. Okay, there we go. At first, I used to think that was a little tiny mushroom, but it's a flea. There we go. Yeah, I like how the screen in the Rob game says Robot Block, which is what I find funny about the Rob NES, the 2 NES games that worked with Rob, was how Rob was designed specifically for the North American market, yet it uses, like, the two games for it use title screens for, the title screens use the Japanese names. Where am I supposed, okay. For some reason I just could not make out where I was supposed to go till very late in the game there. Very late in the micro game, rather. Yeah. There we go. Now, what was I talking about? I lost my train of thought, but, no, there's just the fact that that Gyromite was called Robot Block, which is the name I guess, made up in Japan, and then, Stack Up was called Robot Block, and the games were essentially unlocalized Japanese releases with Famicom to NES adapters inside the cartridge, even though the Rob itself and therefore the games were originally created specifically with the North American market in mind. It's kind of ironic. You know, and it's really, I think one thing I always wanted to come out for DS or even 3DS, but especially DS. It's a shame that they never made something, even if it was just a Club Nintendo thing. They should have made the DS and even the DS, 3DS, and Wii U, having those two screens, well, really especially Wii U, now that I think of it, which I'm playing this on right now, using the Pro Controller, my gamepad's sitting there. I'm very annoyed that the only way to not have the gamepad screen on is to let the batteries run out on the gamepad, because there's no reason for the gamepad to be on right now, and I'd like to preserve the battery in that thing instead of wearing it down. Because as time goes on, gamepads are going to start to wear out, the batteries are going to start to wear out on them, and that's a unique battery, I believe, in there. I want to need to have it serviced or something like that, because eventually Nintendo's going to stop officially servicing those things, so I'd rather just let the gamepad run out of batteries and leave it that way. Operate the system entirely using the Pro Controller, and then during the times when I'm shopping for eShop games or playing an actual Wii U game that uses the gamepad, then I'll use the gamepad for those things. Yeah, like, but what was I was getting at? Okay, I'm glad the hitbox on that rock did not overlap with, there we go. I'm glad the alert box on that map. Ooh, shucks. Yeah. I keep getting distracted by the microgames themselves. What was I talking about? I was talking about the Wii U. Oh yeah, I was talking about how the Wii U with its gamepad and the TV. I mean, the DS would have been, is when I first thought this, but the Wii U in particular, where there's, I guess, a bit more of an asymmetry between the two screens, where there's clearly a primary and secondary screen, would have been a great opportunity to bring back Rob, and have maybe some eShop game that has an emulation, well, basically a virtual console versions of Gyromite and Stack Up, where a representation of Rob would be on the gamepad screen, and the actual game itself would be on the television. It was one of the many missed opportunities of the Wii U. I mean, even if it wouldn't have improved Wii U's prospects, there's so many unique opportunities to do things with that system that really probably won't have a chance to be done again. And fortunately, the Logic games give you twice as much time to solve them as the regular, more action-based microgames. So it actually gives you time to count the little aliens and see if there are more squids or octopuses, and so forth. I love the scream in that minigame. The fire! I think that's what they're saying. Fire! I think that's what they're saying. I love how once he goes into hyper mode, like, none of the... Give up. each ni san shi. I just love, like, lots of use of voice samples in this that you really wouldn't expect. I just love the scale when it's like each ni san shi, each ni san shi. Oh, and by the way, this isn't a. I'm not asking people to interact if they don't want to, but I'm just saying if there's something you want me to talk about that I just get off, that I'm sort of meander off of in terms of the subject, and you want me to go back to it, you can tell me, and I will go back to it. And also, if my audio isn't balanced for the game and my microphone, you could tell me about that too. But one thing I ended up drifting off of was the DualShock controller. I was talking about how the original PlayStation controller was basically the Super Nintendo controller. It was originally intended to be Super Nintendo. Oh, shouldn't have ran for that one. Was originally Super Nintendo compatible. There we go. Yeah, it was originally intended to be compatible with Super Nintendo games, and the PlayStation controller was basically just the Super Nintendo controller with handles for extra comfort and extra shoulder buttons added. And they added the analog sticks for, you know, once N64 established that as a great method for controlling polygonal 3D games. And so what you have basically is this controller that was designed with 2D games in mind, where you have these analog sticks sort of stuck on as an afterthought. And even back then, I had PlayStation 1 during its, you know, from I think 97 or 98 on. I never got the DualShock controller until the DualShock 2 with PlayStation 2. I did not like the look or feel of the DualShock. It just felt like I had these big, dumpy analog sticks and the way of my PlayStation controllers. And, you know, so, you know, like the Crash Bandicoot games and other 3D PlayStation games that predated the DualShock, I played those with the traditional, original PlayStation controller. I consider that the superior controller because that was how it was originally designed to be held and used. You know, I did get used to it. I did get used to DualShock, you know, in PS2, that layout. But I've always felt the DualShock family and the derivatives, like the 6-axis, that, you know, it wasn't called a DualShock, but, you know, it was the same, you know, layout and design. It was ultimately something where it wasn't designed with 3D games in mind. You just had these analog sticks sort of stuck on as an afterthought. And the DualSense controller was the first PlayStation controller that really, I think, gets away from that and was sort of made to be held and used that way. And that the DualShock layout between the original PS1 DualShock up into the PS4 controller were ultimately kind of based on a concession where they just added analog sticks to the original PS controller as an afterthought. Heavier. Okay, I'm right. I just, like, the music, the little jingles they made for these games are fantastic. And I just, what increases the humor factor to me is thinking about the antecedent scenarios that led to these little 5-second moments that we're seeing. Like, what was going on in these situations before the moment that we're actually playing the game? And that kind of increases the comedy to me. And what this really kind of always reminded me of is kind of channel surfing. Where you just flip channel, watch for a few seconds, whatever is going on, and you just keep moving. I actually have a videotape of me channel surfing in 1994 or 1995, where I'm just flipping through every channel that's on basic cable for about 10 seconds each, just because the idea of that always fascinated me. So I just kind of feel like we're just channel surfing between all these weird scenarios that are going on. Well, they're not all weird. Some of them are completely logical and we just happen to be in medias res, you know, in the middle of things, just seeing what's going on at that moment. Okay, that one was one of the weird ones for sure. Alright, there we go. There is a mini-game based on this logic puzzle in Mario Party 1, and it was a very long pipe maze, and you only had a second, 2, 3. I've actually used a... excuse me. It is 6 a.m. in my area. Okay. 100. I think that's a record for us, and I should have been taking water before this anyway, but I'm feeling it in my throat at this point. What? My water bottle is being funky. Okay, there we go. There we go. Yeah, my locking mechanism on my water bottle did not. Yeah, I think this is definitely a high score so far. We still have 2 lives. Racing 112. There we go. It's kind of weird thinking that Nintendo basically had an early version of the Roomba, and yeah, it was just Shirotori was just a toy, but the idea that they had this circular electronic vacuum with wheels that was controlled in a hands-off manner. What I don't get is how come they didn't have... if they made a larger version of Shirotori that could have actually been useful as a vacuum cleaner, that would have been interesting. I wonder to what extent it would have been used as a, I guess, a serious vacuum cleaner. Like, I can't even tell what that thing is. Like, is that a chicken or a rabbit or... Like, why is someone trying to stomp on this little creature? That is messed up. Yeah, this little hapless little weird, indescribable creature. It's not an animal and not an an insect is a type of animal, but it is not... You can't even tell what that little thing is supposed to be. I think it's called a Frank. They appear in a couple of the other WarioWare games too. But one thing I was saying the last time I streamed WarioWare is when I think WarioWare touched... Well, it came out in North America before WarioWare Twisted, or in Japan, WarioWare Twisted came out first. So, essentially this was released as the first sequel to WarioWare, not counting Mega Party games on the GameCube, which used the same mini games. It used the same micro games, but arranged them in ways that were great for 4-player party games. But the what is it? So the one for DS was essentially the sequel to the first one in North America, because you never got the must be a ground frog day. Yeah, hey Azure 714. You may remember this. You may remember this story here, but what was going? I was talking earlier. We were just talking about how this game was, you know, kind of predicted. Well, how WarioWare Twisted, which is the sequel to this on Nintendo DS. I mean WarioWare Touched, which was a DS sequel to this, that used the touchscreen for most of its micro games. Well, nearly all of them. All the games WarioWare Touched used either the touchscreen or the microphone or both, I believe. And how WarioWare Touched, you know, well, the DS in general, but WarioWare Touched in particular, kind of predicted how mobile gaming would end up becoming almost entirely touchscreen based, you know, on smartphones. But at the time the DS was introduced, people were accusing the touchscreen of being a gimmick that would never catch on. I almost got 3 of them there. So what we have Well, I just want to explain the game real quick for our Azurist who just came in the chat. You may or may not remember or be familiar with this game, but basically we just have this rush of all these weird scenarios, and we only have a second or two to figure out what's going on and how to act. We have to eat the apple, which is just jamming the A button. And then we have... Okay, what's next? Okay, so we have to aim the fire hose to put out the fire in the building. So we just have a couple of seconds to figure out what's going on and how to... you have to search for a cat. You have to search for the black cat. There we go, we found the black cat. So you just have a couple of seconds to figure out what's going on, and often the scenarios are really wacky and weird. Here we're Wario having to avoid being grabbed by a hand on top of cakes. I don't know. We don't know how this came to be. We have to drop the eye drops into this person's eye, and so we just have to solve all these wacky scenarios in only a couple. We have to protect the cat, keep the cat out the rain, keep the cat out the rain. Okay, it's because we were playing as the umbrella there, and the cat was moving independently. Oh. Okay, that was a street fight where he knocked the guy out. That was based on... Some of these are based on old Nintendo games. You just have to grab the coins. There we go. And WarioWare Touched on Nintendo DS was the same thing, but it used the touchscreen on the DS and the microphone. But I think that was one of the earlier DS games to come out. I think it was no later than February 2005, very early on in 2005. Ooh, got taken out right before the game would have ended. Because you only have to worry about a few seconds, and once... He's weak. Yeah, once we figure out that once the bomb goes off, whatever happens after that, because the bomb is the timer. Yeah, once the bomb goes off, even if we lose or something happens that would have been losing conditions, it's still registered as a win. I just remember going to Best Buy to get WarioWare Touched, and the cashier or the attendant in the game section of Best Buy was like, when we saw we were getting DS games, like, oh, I heard that system wasn't very good, and that they're gonna stop making games for it. I guess the attitude was that DS was not gonna stick around, and that touchscreen was just gonna be a gimmick that was gonna be a failure. And in a certain sense, like, I feel like the having two screens on the DS ended up being analogous to having two hand layouts on the Nintendo 64 controller. While the N64 controller, that weird layout with a three-pronged layout of that controller, was basically made so that that 3D games using the analog stick and 2D games that use the D-pad, it was basically a way to try to have the D-pad and the analog stick both be equally accessible without one obscuring the other. Because, yes, since then we figured out that, yes, the D-pad and the right analog stick can be set up so that either are equally accessible, but I guess they didn't want one or the other to both be... They didn't want one to dominate the other on the layout. And yes, visually, often either the D-pad or the analog stick will take prominence over the other, but, you know, it was still an experimental phase. And at the time that Nintendo's... You have to remember, at the time Nintendo's designing the Nintendo 64 controller, it is not yet... At the time, no one knew for sure that analog game, like that 3D games, polygonal 3D free-roaming environments would become a standard in video games. 3D was still an experimental thing in game design. No one knew that, you know, yes, games like Star Fox and stuff like that were like an experimental thing still at the time. Yeah, it was advanced technology, but no one, like Sega, they bet on the future of gaming being higher res. With the Saturn architecture, they were basically expecting that the future of how to progress from Genesis was going to be having higher resolution 2D games for the most part, and they designed the hardware around that, and, you know, which led to them, the Saturn, not having as many great free-roaming 3D games, and having to redesign the controller to have an analog stick on it. You know, what ended up being called the Knights controller. There we go. So Nintendo's designing this controller. It's not at all obvious that 3D is going to be polygonal, free-roaming 3D games are going to be the future of gaming. So they wanted to have a controller where 2D games are just as playable with a D-pad as potentially 3D games would be with the analog stick, and that 3-prong controller for N64 was their solution at the time. And so with the DS, how I see it, and I believe the 2 screens was the first idea that came up with DS, and the touchscreen was added later. But what ended up happening with all these things put together was that, yeah, they saw, I mean, they even said it as much with the stylus they handed out at E3 2004, where they had the playable prototype of the Nintendo DS. And they said it was a stylus that had a little medallion on it that said the future of handheld gaming being a touchscreen. You know, and this is before capacitive touchscreens, so touchscreens at the time were generally ideally, well, they had capacitive touchscreens, but they were very limited. They're more like the bank, more like ATM machine touchscreens that were used with using just the finger. But the more accurate touchscreens were the resistive touchscreens, and it's kind of a shame. People now I've saw it on on Pat Country and Pat the NES Punk's podcast that he does with Ian Ferguson. Them mentioning the DS and Wii U touchscreens as being unresponsive because they were resistive touchscreens, or when the Wii U came out. I remember on Attack of the Show, people reviewing the Wii U and saying, oh, the touchscreen is unresponsive because it's a resistive touchscreen instead of a capacitive touchscreen. Like most drawing tablets that are used for art, those are resistive touchscreens. Resistive touchscreens are not bad technology. They are older technology, but there's nothing... Yeah, like when you look at, you know, early PDAs or something like the Tiger Gamecom, yeah, those were very unresponsive resistive touchscreens, but resistive touchscreen technology is not unresponsive or bad just because it isn't multi-touch or just because it isn't the type of touchscreen that are used on modern smartphones and tablets. That annoys me a lot, but that was a little tangent. But what I was getting at was just that, yeah, Nintendo saw touchscreens as being the future of portable gaming, but they didn't dedicate fully to that. And that, you know, yeah, it's the future, but it's not to a point where touchscreen alone can support most types of games. I mean, it still can't, but like the technology for multi-touch wasn't there yet. So even having some touchscreen controls like we do have on some mobile and tablet games wasn't there yet. Oh, excuse me. I did not mean to do that. Man, we've done 200 of these little mini games, microgames so far, and counting. Most of them on just one life. Yeah, so there's no guarantee that touchscreen would be the future. It's just what they hoped would be the future. There we go. And then it's a yummy looking little sponge cake. Yay. Yeah, I did not realize at the time this came out that that was basically supposed to be a bidet that we're operating there. There we go. I just love the whispering sounds and everyone claps. Like this is like competitive needle threading or something like that. There we go. But what was I getting at? I got off track. I was talking about... Oh yeah, the DS. How having the touchscreen and this... Well, touchscreen and buttons. So it's like, yeah, you could have the touchscreen and buttons. Like, so the N64 controller, you have either the analog stick or the D-pad. So you have both the traditional and the more progressive forms of game control. But then the fact... I think the real genius of DS... was, yeah, there was a touchscreen. If they just made a Game Boy 64, so to speak, with those same specs, they just had one screen and the touchscreen, I don't think the touchscreen would have had as much use or gotten as much utility squeezed out of it by developers. I think the real genius with the touchscreen was having that second screen, And I remember on the old SpyMac forums, which was originally it was a forum for rumors about upcoming Apple and Macintosh rumors and news. Eventually, it became this weird attempted social media thing. But anyway, I remember on the SpyMac forums, people just around E3 2004 time just totally and the gaming circles there just dismissing the DS. Oh, it's just a gimmick. It's gonna be the next Virtual Boy. It's dead on arrival. PSP's gonna take over handheld gaming. Nintendo has no future in the portable space. And mind you, I bought PSP the day it came out in North America, so it's not just an anti-Sony or anti-PSP thing that I'm going on here. And people saying, "Oh, the touchscreen is a gimmick. There's no reason to have two screens." And I'm like, yeah, that does it. That does it. Yeah, so let's see. 89 to 255. So we, with my trusty TI 108 that I do have handy here, 255 minus 89. We improved our high score by 166 points. And I'll do the math later. If I care, just to see what the percentage of that improvement is. Yeah, just jump straight back into it. But yeah, saying like there's no reason to have two screens, just a gimmick. You know, why not just have one big screen? And it was like, well, obviously the touchscreen is for input and the upper screen is for output. So you have the touchscreen being able to the touchscreen is able to do its thing and be an adaptive, you know, a flexible form of input control. And then the upper screen could be entirely dedicated to output. And one of the best examples of that they showed at E3 2004 was the submarine tech demo that didn't end up getting released until, weirdly enough, the Nintendo 3DS launch, when they actually released the Steel Diver. And at the time that Steel Diver came out, I was really just thrilled that that demo from E3 2004 finally got turned into an actual game. But looking back on it, that game really should have been an eShop game, and the 3DS eShop was not out until, what, the 3DS came out in late March, and the Nintendo 3DS eShop was not put online until the morning of Nintendo's E3 2011 presentation. I remember waking up that morning, downloading the update for the eShop, and downloading Super Mario Land for Game Boy, from the Game Boy on the Virtual Console. That being Super Mario Land, that was like the first time we're able to download and play those old Game Boy games, and to this day, the only time we're able to legitimately digitally purchase those old school Game Boy games. Yeah, the Wii had the technology for it, but they just decided, they made this weird decision that, okay, I'm glad they got rid of it for the Wii U to an extent, but they made this decision that, okay, handheld games are gonna, like the home console, excuse me, they decided that console, for Nintendo systems, the Virtual Console will only be home console games, and that for handhelds there'll be handheld games. I mean, yeah, there were some NES games for the 3DS, but I mean, like, the Wii U should have had Game Boy games on it. I mean, yeah, there were Game Boy Advance games. I'm glad for it. There were DS games. I'm glad for that. I believe that the only reason we got that was because of the lack of games in general for the Wii U. But if it were not for the Wii U Virtual Console having DS games, I would have no means of playing playing DS games on stream and being able to do it like this, unless I resorted to PC emulation. Eventually, there will be some games that I will be forced to use PC emulation for, which I will regret when that time comes. I'm not a snob. I'm not a snob that like resents PC emulation, but I like playing the games in the most accurate manner possible. And sometimes PC emulation, not for these sorts of games, for like Game Boy Advance, Game Boy, Super NES games. But for like more advanced systems like N64 and GameCube, sometimes the emulation is not all there. I watched a streamer, great streamer. I follow them. I watch them. I love their streams. But they were playing Paper Mario for Nintendo 64. They're playing it on PC emulation. It was their first time playing it, and there were seams in some of the polygons in the backdrops or like in the scenery, like the walls and stuff like that. And he was going around trying to bomb those walls, thinking that those seams were hints at where you could bomb the walls to access hidden areas or find hidden treasures. And no, that's not. That's just glitches from the PC emulation not being 100% accurate. And so when people say, like, yes, I do prefer playing on original consoles or officially authorized emulation as much as possible, because those tend to be more accurate, it is not. Sometimes, I guess, maybe some people are snobs about it, but for the most part, I think it's just wanting to experience the games in as accurate a manner as possible. Which is what I'm all about. Yep. I think we recognize that device there. And it's funny because they do reference the Game Boy Advance SP in 9Volt's story arc, where he runs this when he sees that the Game Boy Advance SP was just announced. He runs to the store to get it, but they don't actually show the Game Boy Advance SP in the game. So that kind of shows the era when this was being developed. I forgot. Well, this game had to have been. It had to have at least been released after the announcement of the Game Boy Advance SP, or else that would have been a weird reference to have in the game. One pretty impossible. Like, the Game Boy Advance SP was really the beginning of me hunting for Nintendo information online, because they announced the Game Boy Advance SP pretty much out of nowhere, and I remember hunting all over the internet, you know, using Google for any information I could find about the Game Boy Advance SP, any articles, and that was also my first exposure to press releases, and because like 90% of the stuff I was finding was just different announcements, well, different people reposting the same press release from Nintendo announcing the Game Boy Advance SP. And then my next experience with press releases was in early 2004 when they first did the press release, because the 3DS, and the Wii U were all initially announced via press releases, or they just said that they were working on something, or that they were working on the system, and that they would reveal it at E3. Because like the DS was like, all it said was Nintendo is excited to announce a new product codenamed Nintendo DS that will which will be a handheld with 2 screens. They didn't confirm or announce the touchscreen, the wireless functions, the microphone. Those all didn't. They were rumored leading up to E3, but they weren't formally announced until E3 itself. And then, well, with Wii, well, the Revolution, as it was called, that was actually announced at E3 2004, the same day they first revealed the DS prototype. Then with, what was going on with Wii U, well, the next system to be announced was 3DS, and there were rumors that they were working on a DS successor. And I was saying, like, oh, they need to announce a successor to DS. People were saying, no, like, you know, there are already enough DS systems out there, because there's the DS Lite and the DSi and the DSi XL. And I was saying, no, I'm not talking about another Nintendo DS. I'm talking about a DS2, a full-fledged successor to the DS. And that, yes, the Super Mario Brothers Microgame still... Now, that just threw me off my groove. The Super Mario Bros. Microgame is way more challenging than it's meant to be, just because it doesn't have the authentic Super Mario Bros. Jumping physics in it. There we go. That's a very forgiving microgame, because if you choose the wrong shape, it is an instant lose. It actually does give you the chance to, Yeah, they're smart and actually black out the screen in this. Because if they didn't black out the screen... Yeah, if they didn't black out the screen there, it would be a situation where you could, you know, play a microgame for the first time and pause it and use that to cheat, to examine the scenario and figure out what you're supposed to do. No, the mayhem of WarioWare is having no idea what's about to happen and trying to figure out what you're even going to be playing as. Here I'm just playing as a disembodied light gun shooting at a wild gunman dummy. And people don't realize the Wild Gunman NES and Famicom game was based on some kind of digital some kind of like physical virtual shooting range that Nintendo had a franchise for in Japan in the 70s, I believe. So then the Famicom Wild Gunman was inspired by that. So technically the Wild Gunman on NES was a sequel to a Nintendo game that predates actual video games. Ooh, I don't know why. I was really good at that when I was young. Now we're gonna see how far we can get on this last life. When we lose this, we're gonna go ahead and switch to. I'm gonna do a little break, and we'll switch to Mario Party 2. There we go. Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and switch to Mario Party 2 once we lose this last life. Let's see if we can break 100. Because I think we got to 200 or something ridiculous like that before. Okay. Okay. And really what makes... And is... Even though we only hear several seconds of it at a time... Just the fact... These little jingles they came up with, these little musical themes, they do go so far in setting the tone for these games, because for a lot of these games, such as... Well, let's see, the, the sci-fi games with like the dog with Dribble and Spitz, that's their name, Dribble and Spitz. Dribble and Spitz's sci-fi games have their own music that overrides the music made for the actual micro games. Cat's minigame, I think, the little ninja girl, her minigame. Excuse me, we're gonna keep going as far as we can with this. And that's just to remind me to take a break eventually. Because we've been playing for about an hour and change now. There we go. Left up. Left up. There we go. But the nice thing about streaming under the retro category is that if after Mario Party 2, if I felt like coming back to this for even just a single run at this marathon mode, I can do so without having to change my title or my category, which is something I've gotten better at remembering to do so, but it's just one less thing to have to worry about if I were to go back to this game. I don't know, like, Wario has this, like, shifty eye thing where he's, like, looking at the other racers. No, actually, I guess he's just realizing that he's going the wrong way down the track, maybe? Well, actually, he is the only one going the right way down the track. If taking Excitebike's left to right movement to be canon as the official way all Excitebike races are to be conducted. There we go. Fire! There we go. I keep saying that. There we go, there we go, there we go. But now I think I knew about Ice Climber because of Smash Brothers, and it's funny because I played NES when it was still on the market. Yes, Super NES was out by then, but I played it when you could still go to the store and buy an NES when there were still NES games being advertised on TV. Because I guess the generations used to overlap a lot more back then. It wasn't like now where like a new home console comes out and the old ones are pretty much discontinued immediately. Well, this coming generation may not be like that so much, but you know, for like the PS1 to PS2, PS2 to I don't know. Anyway, I played. The point of all that was I'm not an 80s kid. I mean, I was born in the 80s, but I didn't grow up in the 80s. So I don't know. I just see this hostility towards people saying like saying when people. I think there were 4 of them. Yeah, I'm right. Like people get upset at kids wearing like NES themed shirts and stuff like that, saying like, oh, like you weren't around in the 80s, or you know, like, you know, you're a poser or you're a fake retro gamer or something like that. And it's like, all right, how many generations of kids have grown up with like the Disney versions of Cinderella and Pinocchio and Snow White, when anyone who saw that in theaters as a kid, like the people who saw those Disney classics as a kid when they first came out, are like great-grandparents at this point, if not have actually passed on just from old age by now. You know what I mean? So, like, there's so many generations of people who've grown up with all these different Disney movies that were out before they were even born, because they exist on DVD and on videotape, and, well, for a long time they didn't exist on in any home format. That's a whole other story. There's a weird hole. Okay, there we go. We lost. But yeah, and people who grew up with those games are sharing them with their kids. So a lot of kids today, their first video game might be Super Mario Brothers. You know, just because they weren't around when it first came out does not mean that them playing that or having fondness for those games is illegitimate. But that was a tangent. Well, what was I talking about that got me on that whole tangent? I don't know how I got on that. But what we will do is okay, so let's I'm gonna take a little break. I'm gonna refill my water bottle and stretch a bit. Let's see, we'll set the timer for 6 minutes. For me, it'll be a 5-minute break, because that last minute for me, actually, I'm gonna be bold. I'm gonna go ahead and dedicate to let's make it a 9-minute break. No, I'll make it 10 minutes for you. I mean, I'll make it 11 minutes for you. It'll be 10 minutes for me, because the last minute will be spent just getting back to my setup and making sure everything's running again in time for the next part of the stream. because I do want to beat almost an entire... I want to beat Mario Party 2 today. I don't want to break this up into separate sections. I will be going back to Mario Party 2, but I do want to beat the last game board today, and which means playing through almost an entire session. And typically in my streams I've done about half of a 20-turn playthrough in Mario Party 2. This time I think I played through the first 2 turns of Bowser Land. This time we're going to play through the entire thing. So, well, the entire match pretty much, because I only played through the first couple of turns of the 19-turn match. So I do want to take maybe a longer break than I typically might, so I get stretch and stuff like that. Because I don't know, as I get used to this and how to sit right, so we don't have weird problems where I can sit here working and writing and doing video editing stuff for hours and I'm fine, but then as soon as I start streaming, all of a sudden I have symptoms like I've been sitting down too long. I don't know how that works. I'll figure it out, because I do want to do a little longer stream so I could get into maybe games like Final Fantasy VII or something like that, where I could do, a couple of, 6-hour streams a day, where I might start off with a little half hour, an hour of Wario, Ware, or Sonic the Hedgehog or something, and then switch to that for a few hours. But anyway, let's go ahead, and I will be back in 11 minutes, so I'll see you soon. Hey, I hope the timer on here only just went off, because I thought I set my own timer to be set to give me a minute to get back to the computer, and I was only a few feet away from the computer, so when my timer went off and I sat back here and saw that this timer was already off, I hope you're just staring at a creepy old BBC test pattern for multiple minutes. Hey, Tofu Bread. Yeah, well, we finished the WarioWare section for now. We might go back to it. Let's see how long it takes to get through this. We're gonna go ahead. I want to beat Mario Party 2 today. By beat, I mean just play through the final of the board game maps and resolve that story that we just saw happening on the title screen. Basically, they built something called Mario Land, even though something called Mario Land already existed in Super Mario Land 2, where Mario has a castle on a private island, but this is also Mario Land, and then they start arguing over who Mario Land should be named after. I guess I thought it would be named after Mario because it's already called Mario Land, and they built all these, I guess, theme parks or something in it. I don't know. I don't. They should have just went like with Mario Kart and had really no proper... Okay, so we're on turn 3 of a 20-turn run through Bowser Land. Until you play through Bowser Land and complete at least one playthrough, for this one time only, you could only choose Bowser Land and nothing else. So we went 3 turns in last stream. I did want to finish this last stream, but what ended up happening was I ended up getting a lot of drop frames, and so I ended up having to end the stream early. Normally on morning streams I haven't been getting drop frames, and it's only something that's happened recently, but since but this is the first morning stream where I got drop frames, I'm like, alright, that's the last okay. Press A to avoid having my coins stolen. Ooh, I only got 11 coins. That's a third of my coins right there, and it's like you only got 11. Now this map is actually pretty generous about giving away coins because there are multiple bank spaces, and in this map, the bank, instead of taking away 5 coins, every time you pass the map, it gives you 5 coins, so it puts a lot more coins into play. But wherever you see those Bowser tracks along the game board, those demarcate the route of the Bowser parade that will come across every several turns, and you could pay at different stations to change the route of the parade, because this is the theme of this. I don't know what the other board games are supposed to be, or board game maps, or whatever the official term is. I don't know what those are supposed to be. I always kind of imagine they're supposed to be theme parks. Bowser Land is specifically supposed to be a theme park within the context of the game world. So there's like a themed Bowser parade that happens, and whoever gets caught along the path of the parade, they drop coins all the way back to the starting point. So let's see what... I only have 20 coins. If I had enough to buy the mushroom and still have 20 coins for a star, I'd probably go ahead and buy it, but for now, let's... Excuse me. That's not what I meant to do. For now, let's not buy anything. I'm doing alright. I'm a little tired because I did get up at 5:15 for this, and steal some coins back from Peach. Not because she's in first, but because she actually just stole the coins from me. And, well, and real for practical purposes, she's the only one worth stealing coins from right now anyway. I do remember a time when I was such a dork that I would actually not steal coins or stars from the other players to play, like, honestly, I guess. But, yeah, I'm doing alright. A little tired at first, but I'm pretty perked up at this point. I'm gonna see if playing with the controller on the table helps with my weird stiffness things that I've been having. I'm having weird symptoms of sitting down for too long, but they only happen while I'm streaming, because I use this setup right here with my computers and my monitors. I use this for, you know, work and writing and everything, and watching YouTube videos. Anything I do involving a computer, I do using this setup, so the fact that I only have weird stiffness problems while I'm streaming is very strange to me. Okay, now my strategy with this, I'm one of the people moving the one of the targets. I'm Luigi, so I'm going to force the computer players, hopefully, to. Aw, thank you. I'm gonna hopefully force the computer players. Yes, good. I'm at the end here. What I want to do is try to force them all in one corner so that Yoshi takes them all out. Okay, now I have free range with those other idiots out the way to avoid the arrows, because the archer tends to the AI archer tends to suck at firing these arrows. But what happens when I let the other computer players continue to live is that they'll end up like boxing me into a corner where I can't move around, and they cause the target, the team that are the targets, end up losing the game. Because if there's even one, as you just saw, if there's even one target player left, then the archer loses. But if the archer takes out all three of the player characters, then the archer wins. So, and I don't know what logic the AI targets are going off of, but they'll often box me in the corner, cause me to die, then they just get shot themselves. Because in some of these minigames, the AI is not that great. And sometimes the AI not being great causes me to lose rather than win, because theoretically the AI being bad would be to my advantage. And for a 4-player minigame, sometimes it is. Most of the times it is. But for my own purposes... yeah, thanks for the hug, Tofu. Yeah, so... Yeah, so this was when I was getting when I started the stream to, when I had my, starting in 10 minutes thing come up, and the stream was live. This was the first time I had really gotten dropped frames in a morning stream. I think it was consistently only happening in the afternoon for a while. So I was thinking maybe it's just more people are on Twitch, or normally people aren't streaming while I'm playing. I've been very courteous, my housemates, about that, but I thought maybe it was that, but no one was using the internet, and now for the first time I was getting dropped frames in a morning stream, so I had to hustle, get out my Ethernet cable, and finally do a hardline connection to the router on the other side of the house, which I did have a cable. I bought a cable specifically for streaming, but I was having such good results for the first, like, 8 streams I was having such unexpectedly good results with the, using my chintzy Wi-Fi. Okay. I'm still not used to the Pro Controller for the Wii U. And for some reason, for certain games, my thumb defaults to the D-pad to try to move the character around. So, that's why I lost that one. I mean, I typically lose that minigame anyway. So we played WarioWare for an hour and a half or so, or an hour and change. Oh, excuse me. That's another thing about this Pro Controller. I keep hitting the shoulder triggers. Not the bumpers, but the triggers. And that brings up the menu. Here comes the parade. Thanks for waiting, everyone. Without further ado, the Bowser Parade shall begin. If there's no one in the path of the parade, he will cancel the parade and not do it, which saves time. I think I'm in the... Dang, doggone. I wasn't... it's the first time I played this map since, this is the first time I've done this, played this in a long time. That running animation is so janky. I probably lost most of my coins right there. Ooh, that hurt a lot. So I'm actually still somehow I think I'm the closest to this first star still. So, yeah, that was bad, but yeah. So even though there are more coins going into play thanks to the way the banks work in this map, but because of the Bowser Parade, so many coins are lost that go out of play. that this ends up not being the most profitable map to play on. So playing through each of these maps once, we'll see how close we can get. I do want to. Now this is a gamble, because I saw that if I did the 2 more space, I was going to end up landing on the Bowser space. Hopefully I land on something that impacts the other players. The only one that won't... Sometimes there are multiple results that would be favorable or not affect you, or only affect other players. But for this time, the only one that will really be to my benefit is Stars Pack to Go, which sounds like Bowser's going to steal stars from you. In Mario Party 1, that's exactly how this would have worked. But in Mario Party 2, there's only one way you could lose a star during the games, and that is in this one board in Bowserland. If you land on a bank space, have stars, and no coins, the banker will take away one of your stars. And it uses a sound effect that's rarely used in the game, because that's the only way you could lose stars in Mario Party 2, as far as I'm aware. So I want to try to hopefully land on Stars Pack to Go. Okay, almost. I was a frame or 2 off. So, yes. So they're down to 0 coins. Unless someone lands on a battle space or something like that, there's no one gonna have enough coins to buy a mushroom. I was hoping to get lucky and have enough coins to buy a mushroom, and to still have 20 coins left. Be able to get myself lined up to get a mushroom, then get 20 coins lined up. Now, if he lands on Bowser's Revolution, that'll be good for me. Oh, okay. I'm gonna do great with this. This is a game changer right now, because I'm gonna have like 30 coins or something like that. Oh, 18. All right, now I'm actually in good shape. If I win this next mini game, okay, this is a mini game I'm guaranteed to win, pretty much. If I don't, well, now that I said it, now I better deliver. But if I just focus and don't. The only way I can win is if I fall off of the track, which rarely only happens if I'm totally not paying attention. Even though the other team, because I'm in the Mario and Luigi bobsled, even though the other team got their bobsled launched first, the only way I could lose this is if I just fall off the track. Because I feel like the way they program the AI is that if you're in the bobsled with a computer player, I feel like it's basically only considering my inputs. Because ideally, how this should work with 2 computer players in a cart, 2 human players in a cart, is that it's dividing and comparing the 2 players' analog stick inputs so that they're both kind of equally in charge of the cart. So they both have to kind of work together. With this, I just feel like I'm fully in charge of the bobsled. This is one of my favorite minigames in Mario Party 1. I don't really know why. You know what? I know why. It's probably because for some reason I loved the Princess's Secret Slide in Mario 64. There were times when I would just go replaying that over and over for hours, not even trying to get a better time, just because it was fun sliding down. I never even successfully did the trick where you do the shortcut where you fall down to the lower part of the slide to get your time down enough to get a second star. I just like sliding down it. Because I was a little kid playing Mario 64 back then, so I wasn't really sophisticated enough to have that kind of skill, I guess. Why is my geomining app not running right now? There we go. Alright. I hope I win this one. Even if I lose this, I'm still going to be way better off than if Mario didn't land on the Bowser Revolution square last turn. But if I win this battle game, I'm going to be in really good shape. Let's see. Okay. Gonna move my mic back a bit. Sit forward a bit so I could rest with both my arms out on the controller. Now this does have the unfortunate side effect. It does obscure my game console a bit and my high-speed train power card there, but you know, they're still visible. Okay. The other two minigames are minigames I very rarely win. This minigame is a matter of pure chance, especially because the only control you have is to pick the character you think's going to win. But like it says advice, there's no advice to be had. It's just explaining how like it might as well. I mean, Bowser's Big Blast would be more ideal. I have the same odds as this one, but with Bowser's Big Blast, just the way it's set up is more fun. This, I'm totally helpless, especially if I'm not the. If you're the fourth person to get to choose, then am I going to be the third? So I'm the last to choose a character, so I have absolutely no control over choosing which character I'm going to play as, which character I'm betting on. You can actually see the edge of the grass in the upper left corner of the at first. And of course I'm losing so far. Oh, that was miserable. That was miserable. Having absolutely no control over which character I'm betting on, and then on top of that, I get 4th place. That's just sad. Oh, I got 3rd place. That doesn't mean anything. I might get thrown 1 coin by Goomba. That sucked. That really sucked. Okay. I'm still better off than if Mario didn't hit the Bowser Revolution square last turn. But yeah, Bowser's Big Blast. Yeah, I still have a 1 in 4 chance of winning, in which it's pure luck. But at least with Bowser's Big Blast, I have all the players have more control over. So I missed out on the first star. Let's see where he goes next. Alright. Oh yeah, Baby Bowser is now here. He might take a few coins, but don't mind that. Yeah, because Baby Bowser is the host of this. And that's so, like, because there's... So we have Baby Bowser here, which was introduced before Bowser Jr., but in Super Mario World 2, Yoshi's Island, there was already Baby Bowser, and in Yoshi's Island there was Baby Bowser, but that Baby Bowser was a baby version of the King Bowser Koopa that is Mario's nemesis, whereas these Baby Bowsers are just weird little mini clones of Bowser. I don't know. Okay. Dueling Glove, Skeleton Key. I'm gonna go ahead and buy the mushroom. I mean, the next, I better make out ahead on this. Gonna take it from Mario. The next star is so far away from me, I'm not likely to get it. Yeah, I'm not, yeah, I don't know why, these, just today only, these feel really sharp in my ears. I have to just rub my ear a bit, so it doesn't hurt so much. Yeah, but my audio is actually turned extremely low, my game audio, like on my PC, that I'm listening to this through. It's very low. I don't know why I turned it in the same... I need to pay attention there, because for some reason I turned it in the same direction I'm now heading. And I don't know how many turns the next parade is, and I don't want to get messed up like last time. Hey, the worst minigame in the game. The worst minigame in Mario Party 2. You just hit people. Controls aren't satisfying. Okay, I mean, I told you it was going to be garbage. It's not... They could have... This is just not a good... These controls are just not good for fighting and punching. I mean, if I was with three other human play... What is Peach's AI doing? It just gave up. Like, there's this weird thing where in certain minigames, there are moments where the AI just gives up. Yeah, I meant to get to bed earlier. I mean, I don't really stay up late anyway. I did mean to get to bed a little earlier, knowing that I'd be up at 5 getting the stream ready. But this time in particular, I just ended up going to bed at like 11 or 12 or something. Peach. There was some flavor text there. You normally... there's unique flavor text you only get to read when you're in the Bowser suit and happen to pass Peach. I mean, happen to pass Toad, where Toad thinks you're Bowser at first. I did not get to really read it there. Now, coming up here, if I roll 1 through 3, I'll land on one of those happening spots, which will put me closer to the happening star, at the bonus star at the end. But it will get me stuck in that little isolated carousel area. Okay, just what I... you know, I could have used my mushroom there too. That's very silly that I didn't use my mushroom there. I was really counting on not getting 1 through 3, but I guess me talking about it jinxed it. And the Wii U gamepad does have a microphone, so theoretically it could be listening to me, but the gamepad is deliberately out of batteries so that it's not pointlessly on, wearing down the battery life. Now this microgame, this is a microgame that maybe should not have returned, because the point of this mini game in Mario Party 1 is you only get to bowl with one shell, doggone, and steal coins from whichever players you happen to hit. But here the point is just to get them all out using 2 shells. And if I was playing with other people, with other human beings, what we do is say, oh, you go to the left and I'll go to the right, and we split up so it's harder for them to hit the bowling player to hit us all. But because we're with this silly AI logic, I try to get away from them, they all cluster together near me, and we all get taken out. So, yes, I really, all the mini games that were themed around stealing coins from other players probably should have just been retired entirely. Grab Bag works well as a battle game without the coin stealing mechanic. I mean, the controls for Grab Bag are terrible, and I very rarely am able to steal coins from other players. At least from these AI computer players, I just end up being forced to, now, on the... Alright, this will probably result in a 1 versus 3 minigame where I'm it. We'll see what happens. You know, I never played Sonic Shuffle, which I think was also made by Hudson. But I did watch Pete play it once, and honestly, what I saw impressed me. I remember magazines at the time just writing it off as a crappy Mario Party wannabe, but a lot of the strategy in the game board play in Sonic Shuffle looked legitimately more complex and challenging than the strategy in Mario Party. This is not one of the minigames I would have wanted. Because I feel like the way they program these AIs, they're just not easy to trick. I just feel like I'm at an unfair disadvantage. All I did was stop rolling the thing, and it messed with him enough for him to fall off. So I'm glad the bad AI was in my favor, because whenever I'm standing on the roller, I always win, or my team always wins. But more importantly, I always win. Because standing on the roller, all I do is just keep jumping. I just stay towards the middle and just keep jumping and spend as little time standing on it as possible. And the way the AI operates the lever, it just never tricks me. Whereas when I'm holding the lever, something about the AI makes it very difficult to actually trick the players, and I feel like I'm at the mercy of... Okay, Yoshi's gonna grab a second star. He's taking a very strong lead early on. I forgot. Was this came out in 2000, and I think Yoshi's Story came out in 98. So it's interesting that this is still using the sort of original Super Mario World Super Nintendo, well, basically Yoshi's story established a lot of tropes about Yoshi that have been persistent ever since, that I don't really like. Yoshi's story kind of established the idea that Yoshi is an animal rather than a person. The only games I've seen that really... The only post-Yoshi story game that I've really seen depict Yoshi's as having human intelligence, well, arguably this one, since he's talking to characters and stuff, but like Yoshi's, and like in Super Mario World, Yoshi has actual dialogue. He's shown writing letters, and then in Super Mario World and Super Mario RPG, you know, basically the idea that Yoshi just says his name like a Pokemon came about because of Yoshi's story. And since then, only the first Paper Mario and only the first two Paper Mario games have depicted Yoshis as a sapient race that can talk and are people in this world rather than animals. What? My controls felt backwards for some reason. And salvaging it, I ended up being way behind the other characters. There's no way I'm gonna win. I want to at least make it to the other platform. Oh my! It wouldn't let me jump. It would not let me jump. That is butt. Yes, that's my G-rated swearing for you, butt. Bowser Parade time. At least I'm safe in the Bowser Parade because I'm on the stupid blooper carousel. I have to keep rolling until... There's no point in using my mushroom now, because I have to keep rolling until... and once again, I just want to say this is the first time I've ever played this. Since 2000 maybe I used the Rumble Pack sometimes. I don't know why the running animations for when the characters are being chased by the parade are so janky. They just go like, beep, beep, beep. Like they have this weird, jerky, incomplete running animation that I don't know why they let that slip by. I was watching Kyle TX 500's playthrough of Wind Waker HD, and I played the original Wind Waker on GameCube. One thing I thought they would fix, and I'm surprised they didn't, is when Link is in certain cutscenes using the Wind Waker to conduct another character who's playing an instrument. The Wind Waker is a conductor's baton, if you don't know. And he uses it to conduct as other people are playing instruments. And the way they depict it has nothing to do with how conducting an orchestra works. But anyway, that's not actually what I'm nitpicking about. What I'm nitpicking about is the fact that, like, the animation for Link, like, swirling the baton around, well, first off, it is not... Yeah, right in front of Mario. So, yeah, the animation for Link using the conductor's baton is not how you actually conduct that particular song in the cases where this happens. And yeah, that's another happening for Peach. I think Mario got one, Peach got one, and I got one. I'm gonna have to get at least one more to escape the carousel area. But the animation for Link swinging the baton around is only a few strokes, and then it just skips back to the beginning. But it skips back to the beginning in a really shockingly janky and awkward way, where it's like, okay, I think I'm tied. I think I have the most happenings right now. Yeah, right in front of Mario. Thank you very much. But at least I'm out of the carousel area now. And the Bowser Parade just happened last turn, I think, so... Which got us on the discussion of janky Nintendo animations. Yeah, I'm surprised they didn't fix it in the HD version on Wii U, so it'd be a more smoother animation. But he just like swings a few times, then the animation just restarts, and his hand's in a different position. It's like they didn't. It was like they put in a placeholder animation that they intended to replace the longer one later, and they just never did it. Yeah, so everyone has a star except for me right now. I mean, my real intention right now is to just have as many coins as possible go into play by the end of the game, so that I could afford as many mini-games from the mini-game tree as I can and unlock some of the other modes that are more suitable for quick sessions of play. Okay. Gotta focus for this one. Oh, come on. That was just me. I'm gonna lose this now. There's no way I'm gonna win. That was just me hitting the Z bumper instead of the Z trigger, because I'm used to playing this on the on the Wii with the Wii Classic Controller Pro. So instead, I ended up hitting the doggone trigger instead of the bumper. Alright, I need a drink after that. Gotta remember to use the bumper. No, I used the trigger and not the... Okay, I used the trigger and not... It's either the trigger, not the bumper, or the bumper, not the trigger. Okay, that's me hitting the L bumper, which makes Luigi go woohoo! And one time, I was just sitting around doing this, to the point where I like, came to resent that sound effect. And every time he would just say that, do his cry normally, I would... Yeah, I just like that Yoshi still has like the sort of beatbox sound effect here, even though Yoshi's story already came out. And then I think from Mario Party 4 onwards, maybe in Mario Party 3, but I only played that once, and I don't remember it since then. But yeah, I think in Mario Party 4 onwards, they start using the Yoshi sound effects. I mean, I know that's so, like, iconic of the character now, but, like, when it came to the Game Boy Advance port of Super Mario World 2 Yoshi's Island, the fact that they went back and added in the Yoshi story sound effects for the flutter jump, like, I just could not tolerate that. I was not having it. I am sure it's a great port, but when I saw my friend playing on his GBA, not long before the Game Boy Advance SP was out, because it was on his GBA, it was a black, I think it was a black Game Boy Advance that he got from Toys R Us. And being a self-conscious dork at the time, you know, I was kind of embarrassed by my purple GBA, because I originally got the purple GBA because I think the Game Boy Advance launched in what they called Milky Blue. Oh, yeah, great. Now they want to put the star in that hard-to-get-to area that you can only access by... Yeah, it's going to be a long time before someone else gets a star, but this is an opportunity for me to make a big comeback. I mean, it's very possible that the next star is going to be gotten by someone using buying or winning the magic lamp and then using it, because that is a very hard spot on the map to get to otherwise. Okay, this is one. Okay, remember from now on, it is the Z trigger. It is the L trigger, not the L bumper that represents the Z on the N64 controller here. So A, B, and Z. Okay. A, B, and Z. Okay, and this is this minigame is very bad about not registering my inputs for whatever reason. B, left up, A, Z. B, left up, A. So all I had to do was hit Z there. Left, up, Z, left, up, Z, A, down. Left, up, A, down. Okay, we all made it through. If only one of us makes it through to the end, we all get to win. And half of the time, half of the players basically only have to actually remember half the commands, but they don't know which commands are going to be given when it's time to play back the dance moves. So, you do have to pay attention. I have at least the nose in my high-speed train power card being picture. Yeah, I'm doing alright so far in terms of comfort and not having weird symptoms from sitting too long, even though I sit in this setup all the time, but it's only when I'm streaming that I have problems with it. So there must be some very slight difference in... Alright. This is the downside to, yeah, the bank spaces work in reverse here. So when you pass them, you get 5 coins instead of give 5 coins, but if you land on the bank space, you owe all the coins that have been given away to that point. So, yeah, sad day for Luigi. Down to just 12 coins, but it's going to be a long time before someone gets... Yeah, someone actually gets to that star. The next star is most... If the magic lamp... Okay, the magic lamp is not going to be in play here. And plus, even if the magic lamp was in play here, this is by far the most difficult item minigame. You only a perfect flush of all 3 items will get you the item that you're going for. Actually, the speed on the slot machine reels was much more forgiving than I remember it being. I remember it being like chance time, where it's very difficult to actually get a specific result. And yes, I did describe the 3, getting all 3 the symbols on the slot machine as getting a flush. But you have to remember, slot machines did originally begin as a mechanical version of poker, where the reels were showing different cards, and you were trying to get a flush of, or get a certain, you know, a good hand, and getting a proper hand would get you a winning, get you a payout of coins on a slot machine. The reason they switched from the cards, it was originally 5, but it was simpler to have 3, and then they started having the slot machines give out candy in addition to coins. Like, whether you got coins back or not, you would always get a piece of candy, so that they could say, oh, it's a vending machine, because if you always get something, then it's technically not gambling. So they replaced the pictures of cards with pictures of fruit, and the bar was originally, I think, a stick of gum that was licorice flavored. Because for a long time, there's that bubble gum or juicy fruit kind of generic chewing gum flavor, but a lot of the earlier gum was actually flavored after licorice. And so I think the bar started off as a piece of licorice, and that's actually why slot machines are associated with pictures of fruit now, because for a while they were trying to disguise them as candy vending machines, where the symbols would depict what kind of flavor candy you're gonna get or something. I don't know. Yeah. It's a very complex minigame to be able to win so easily while running my mouth about the history of slot machines, but I don't mind. I'll take it. Yeah, I'm streaming under Retro instead of under Mario Party 2. Because well, it just happens that I've only been playing retro games with the exception of Undertale, which is kind of retro styled. Hopefully this does not involve me, but we'll see what happens. That was just chance time. I've been playing mainly retro games, and then Undertale, which is a modern game that's retro styled. And it's art and music and stuff. Yeah. So Peach gives 3 coins to Bowser. You only lost 3 coins. That's an excellent result for Bowser's chance time. I think you could lose stars there. It's one of the only other ways you could lose stars aside from... Yeah, if I had a star but no coins when I landed on the bank space the other turn, it would have actually taken a star from me, which is one of the only ways you could lose stars in Mario Party 2. Alright, there's a chance to recover from... Because I lost a bunch of coins on the bank space, then I got caught up in the Bowser Parade that one turn. Hot Bomb. I usually win this one. Crazy Cutters would be more of a sure thing, but I usually do win this one. I'm just gonna have to focus a little bit. Don't even really care about who I'm tossing it to. Not gonna bother directing where I'm throwing the bomb. I just want to catch it so it doesn't blow up on me. Okay, I usually win this one just because the AI deliberately stalls in holding the bomb. Sometimes it fails to catches it. Sometimes it takes a second to decide who it's going to pass the bomb to. So because of the way the AI is programmed, I usually do good at this one. And I mean, there's some battle minigames that I always lose at, so that one being a relative free giveaway, you know, I don't feel that like it's too broken in my favor. This is what I want to happen. It doesn't remind you how many turns till the next parade. Until after you've made your decision. All right, this is good. I'm actually going to get a star, which would be a big step forward for me. Speed hockey. I've been getting this minigame so much, well, since I've been streaming Mario Party 2. And really, let's see. Yeah, I've been playing this. Okay, there we go. Okay. Yeah, I remember all the times I rented Mario Party 2 as a kid back in the day. I never got this minigame to the point where I wondered if it was actually a real minigame or not, or if it was somehow rigged to never land on this. And the dumb AI can make this such a hard minigame to win, especially if you're in the back. In the back row. Alright. I'm having symptoms, so I'm just going to give myself a minute to stretch a bit so my legs don't fall asleep. Okay. I set the timer for a minute. I'm not even leaving the room. I'm just stretching, getting the blood flowing a bit. Okay. Walking back and forth trying to get... I really don't understand why this is only a problem while I'm streaming, but... Now I'm getting paranoid if I actually started my timer or not. I didn't actually start my I don't know what is this deal I have, where I keep setting the timer and not actually starting it. But I'm back now. Probably needed the extra time anyway. Or, for all I know, maybe that wasn't even a whole minute. I'm gonna try sitting back some. Okay. Back to the game. Thanks for waiting, everybody. Yeah, it's the first time so far, even though all the games I've played happen to have dedicated categories for them, so I had never needed to use the retro category, but I'm just giving it a shot this time. It makes it easier. I don't have to worry about changing the categories between games. But yeah, I don't think any I know I haven't, but I haven't even hit a mini game, an item mini game space yet. But so far, it seems like I don't think any of the characters have actually gotten an item in this. Yoshi might be the first. Alright, Yoshi is the first to actually win an item through this. I still think the train minigame in Western Land is probably harder. Yay! Oh! You got him. I mean, there's no competition to get a star right now, so I'm not sweating it. Yeah, it'd be incredibly likely if somehow someone steals a star from me. Okay, Sky Pilots. Am I flapping? Alright, I'm flapping, so there's really nothing I can do. Player stealing the plane, the player flapping the wings must cooperate to finish. To call this weird device a plane is very generous. You're basically, one player's flapping the wings, the other player... I'm betting this started off as like a rowboat game where one person is flapping the wings and one player is flapping the wings and then the other player is steering it. I mean, or one player is rowing the boat and the other player is steering it. But they probably thought it wasn't challenging or interesting enough, so they made it a flight-themed minigame so that they could play it. You have 3 dimensions going on. Now, I'm totally at Yoshi's mercy. The AI's idiocy is fully in control of the situation. Missing the rainbow rings, of course, but the other players, Peach and Mario's plane, between their bad steering and their bad flapping, I was in a really strong lead up until right now. But because I have good flapping, even with Yoshi's, he's deliberate. That's rubbish. That's rubbish. He's deliberately avoided the ring there. Come on. If I don't win this, that's garbage. Okay, good. They very nearly tried to steal that from me. Like, Yoshi just was deliberately missing the rings. Those are those times when you really feel like the computer is just trying to mess with you. Due to circumstances beyond our control, the parade has been cancelled. So basically, they only run the parade when there's people in the way for them to steal coins from. Only 5 turns to the next parade. See you then. So I'm pretty much guaranteed the star this turn. Yeah, there's no way. Because even just to land on those 3 question mark spaces, all it does is put you on that next space ahead of it. So it really wouldn't. There's no real way anyone else could get it unless they already had a magic lamp and used it this turn. Yeah, that was absurdly close. Alright, perfect. We get the star and leave the carousel at the same time. Hopefully the next star is on the left there, on that path, because that would be real nice. No, it's not. It's over here. So I'm gonna have to go head up. I'll loop around and go. So next turn, I'm gonna use my mushroom. One of these guys could get it first, but let's see. Yeah, one of them is gonna get it first. This battle minigame could leave the other players unable to afford the star, though. So let's see what happens. Because they're all ahead of me. But I have the most coins right now, and if I win this... Facelift? Alright. This is a game where I have to try, but it's not a guaranteed win or lose. This minigame's actually balanced here. And the controls seem really finicky to me the only one time I played this on stream. I don't know. I don't think I could. Maybe this one's. I mean, I could have fine-tuned it more, but the controls are so. Wow, 90. I basically got a perfect score. I mean, I could have fine-tuned it a bit more, but I think that the amount that I could have made it might have changed how it looked, but it wouldn't have even improved my score at all. Alright, so this is, even though I'm ahead by 2 stars away from the first place player, it seems like it's very possible that I could end up making a comeback and get to the next star. Alright. That was quick. I didn't even get a chance to get a feel for flicking the bombs. If I was thinking more deeply, I probably would have actually practiced that, because I didn't even have much of a feel for. Usually I'm on the receiving end of that mini game where I'm trying to avoid the bombs. This is the first time since I was streaming, and okay, last 5 turns. That was nice and quick. Alright, we're gonna be done with this quick. That's nice. I say that loser will win. Ha ha ha. Yeah, between the bonus stars and the minigame, I have a good sense I'm gonna probably end up winning this using bonus stars. Only 5 turns to go. Not take her below 20 coins as I hoped it would, so she got the star. Now let's see where it wants to put this next star. Oh. I was about to say, if it puts it back... Okay, that's where I want to see it. That's where I want to see that. Now it's right in my path. And she gets an item. Okay. Takes 3 well-timed jumps to line up 3 of a kind. Okay. Yeah, there's no way you're gonna make it to the star in time. 4 turns until... Yeah, there's only gonna be 1 more parade this match, and it's gonna be at the beginning of the last turn. I don't know, Yoshi's a little too close for my comfort. So, and plus Peach has the plunder chest, which I forgot about, wasn't even paying attention to. So we'll go ahead and use the mushroom while we have the chance. Oh, come on. I mean, 10 isn't bad, but you'd like to roll more than what would normally be possible. You'd like to roll 11 or better. You'd like to have... Because I could roll a 10 without using the mushroom, but the mushroom improved the odds, so I'll take it. Now I'm in 2nd place. I'm only 1 star away from 1st place. And this is possibly going to be one of the later stars of the game. I think that'll be the last star we're all going to go after. I so do not want to land on this question mark spaces. But I'm going to. That is the last thing I want to happen. I'm probably not going to grab that last... I'm probably not going to be able to grab that last star. I mean, theoretically, you could put me in the running for the happening star, which could make up for it, as long as Yoshi doesn't win a bonus star at the end of the game. I'm probably gonna win this. I'm not gonna get that last star. All I have to do is make sure if I'm teamed up with Yoshi in a 2-player minigame, I might, if I don't know his current coin count, but if losing helps to keep him under 20 coins, then I would go ahead and deliberately lose so that Yoshi doesn't have enough coins to get that last star. That's how this minigame normally goes for me. I normally just run the reverse controls don't mess with me, and I just run straight for the music note and grab it. But lately, since I started streaming, this is the first time I've won this. Somehow, I guess the controls actually did scramble me up enough that it was a challenge to get to the center. Uh-oh. Let's say, uh-oh, this could be potentially awesome. We'll see what happens. One point is to cut as closely to the line as possible. Cut carefully. One of the more complex shapes that they can give you to cut out, actually. I think the most complex shape. You know, I always think mine looks terrible, and then I actually look at the other players. I would lose this game all the time on the N64. Maybe this just has a better analog stick. Because some games, I have to wonder if I'm genuinely not as good at them because I'm getting older and my reflexes aren't what they were when I was a little kid. So, I don't know. But then other mini-games, like that one, I think either the control, like the physical mechanism of the analog stick is just better on modern controllers compared to the N64 one. That would have a tendency to wear down even back then. But even aside from that, I feel like I guess I'm just talented to the point where I don't have so many problems with the cut at some of these mini games that I used to be really bad at. Or some mini games like slot car racing I used to be terrible at, but now I'm actually. Wow, it's very rare to get a 4-player minigame with 3 red spaces. Normally, whenever red spaces are involved, you get a 1 versus 3 or 2 versus 2 minigame. You don't often... Normally, it's to the point where you can almost assume a 4-player minigame means 4 people landed on blue spaces. So, that's an interesting outcome there. Oh, this is... I was hoping we were going to get Deep Sea Salvage, which is kind of the bonus game where we could all win coins. I'm not that great at this minigame. Well, at least not nowadays. I used to be really good at it. The problem, I think, is the shape of the controller. And last time I was so dope and tried to use the D-pad. Oh! If I could avoid one of those fishes, I would have gotten that. That was real close. And I'm not that... I have to practice that minigame and practice avoiding the fish. I think there are 2 turns left? 3 turns. Okay. Okay, good. No happening for her there. Bowser slots. I don't expect to grab another star, but I do want to land on the happening space just to get out of here, just so I have one more happening under my belt before the bonuses are tallied up. Because now Mario... Alright, now we have to deal with the minigame is rock, paper, scissors, so it's basically pure chance. It's rock, paper, scissors with Mario characters. Rock, paper, Mario. Mario beats Bowser. Peach beats Mario. Bowser beats Peach, even though Peach can defeat Bowser in Super Mario 3D World. Super Mario 3D World, I never beat Super Mario 3D World, so unless... I mean, and that game does have lots of Super Mario Bros. 2 references with the 4 playable characters, and the Sprixies, they're just subcons, pretty much. So, with all of that, unless that game ends up being a dream at the end, really, Peach being playable in Super Mario World, in which she's shown to be as equally physically capable as Mario, Luigi, and Toad. Yeah, I win. It's pure chance, so it's not really a matter of skill. This is the least stressful dual minigame because it's 100% chance-based. Yeah, Super Mario 3D World depicting Peach as being equally physically capable of fighting Bowser and his minions as the male characters really kind of discredits what we see in Mario games to follow, but that's just... Mario, it's cartoon logic. It's like where's Bugs Bunny's rabbit hole supposed to be? It's wherever the plot needs it to be. If it's in the middle of the woods for that story, then fine, it's in the middle of the woods. If it needs to be on right near a launch pad where they're testing rockets, that's where it'll be. And I'm sure it's been in other interesting places. I just can't think of them. Fine. Yeah, Mike. Yeah, it's just so easy to bounce. Well, you stand on the edges of the hexagons, and then you bounce you let the players jumping towards you bounce on your head and bounce them right off the platforms. 2 turns it should be. Yep, last 2 turns. Mario steals Yoshi's mushroom. It's not, there's no one's gonna get this. I'll be shocked if anyone actually gets this last star. Yeah, it's all down to the bonus stars now, unless Yoshi somehow gets a star either through just the random bonus, like the mystery boxes that you can get when you land on a square. Yeah, if Yoshi gets a star in the last couple of turns... Okay, this is not a minigame I'm good at. Okay. Okay, missed that one. I'm just not good at this. Okay, 1... No. Okay. Just thought I was gonna... What is... Each one of these spots has some kind of timing for it, and I'm just not good at... He got the gold mushroom and the poison one. There's no way I could win. Yeah, 0 dropped frames, so I'm very happy with these results. Another gets to choose who he wants to duel. And at 110 coins, I think right now I am, I've got the coin star locked down. And only 5 coins are at stake here, so there's absolutely no stress involved. It's pure chance, but there's no stress involved. Go with Z. Because you can't see what the other player chooses till the characters appear. Oh, I lose. Lost a whopping 5 coins. Doggone. I just want to get... I mean, the next turn, I think, is my last opportunity to even get out of this place. So if I can land on a happening spot there, which does get me out of here, but there's nowhere for me to really go. Magnet Carta is basically, you're in the same sort of arena with the same tank controls and a little, like, RC cart with the same RC controls, well, like, the same tank controls as in, the balloon duel minigame where you're trying to pop each other's balloons with the spikes in the front of your wagon. Or cart, rather. But instead of trying to pop each other's balloons, what you're trying to do is... It's a bonus game, in the sense that there's nothing to lose, you're just trying to collect stuff. And you have a magnet in front of your cart instead of spikes, and all the treasure and items and I think they're coin bags, treasure boxes, and plain coins. And you just grab stuff and bring it to your corner of the map and drop it in there, and that counts towards stuff you keep at the end of the minigame. Okay, last turn. And Peach is... Now this is really unfortunate, because Peach, look how jumbled and discordant her run animation is. Now I don't want this to happen. I don't want coins to leave play. Because even if it means I lose, the more coins are still in play at the end of the game means that they count towards my coin bank total. And what I hope to happen is that I'm able to use the coins I have from playing each game board once. I play through each map once, with this being the final one that only unlocks at the end. Now this I don't care about. There's last turn, coins, no coins are leaving or entering play, and, you know, and yeah, I have nothing to, I can lose coins, but in terms of the ultimate results of this match, not to mention my ultimate goal of having as many coins as possible in my coin bank, one again with the same character too. Yeah, so that's another 10 coins for me. So I've got the coin star. I'm probably gonna get the minigame star. Probably gonna get the happening star. Yes. Okay. Another. Yeah. I'm very sure I'm gonna get the happening star, the coin star, and the minigame star. So I don't think Mario has at least one happening. I think he's at 3. I think Mario's at 3 happenings, and I think I'm at 4, if I remember correctly. Because he went in the pipe once, that's a happening. Then he entered the carousel, then he left the carousel. Watch Mario choose Mario. Oh, it's a draw. Try to outsmart your opponent. I mean, there's nothing you can do. Wow. I've never seen this happen before. Take that off your bingo card. Okay. Okay, this is getting silly now. I've never in my life seen this happen. Once, yeah. Never twice. Never 3 times so far, I think. Okay, there we go. There we go. That was funny. So I won 150 coins. I'm 100% guaranteed to get the coin star at this point. But it doesn't really matter. Archer rival. Yeah, I'll try to win this. Well, no, actually, if I'm the archer... No, if I was the archer, I would deliberately lose this and not even fire a single... No, if I was a loser, No, if I was the... Yeah, if I was the archer, I would go for the targets that make you earn coins, but not make the opposing team, the 3 other players, out, because that would put more coins in play. Yeah, hitting the baby Bowser and Toad, but then avoiding... Get out, Toad! You're gonna make me lose. We're gonna lose now, because that stupid Toad... now, the computer players suck at avoiding the arrows, so we're probably gonna lose now. I'll be shocked if Peach doesn't get hit. Please, Peach, you have all the space in the world to work with. Please don't get hit. Please don't get... Okay. Wow, we actually... It is very rare that things go... That they're... When I as the computer player is out... I mean, when me as a target, as the human player is out, 99% of the time, it just results in, Alright, I think I'm gonna win this. Yeah, Yoshi has 1 star over me, but I'm gonna get I think I'm gonna get all 3 bonus stars. And I have more coins. 1 bonus star for the most coins. That goes to Luigi. Now I'm gonna get... Now I know for a fact I'm gonna get the coin star for having the most coins working, because I have 150. Other players I don't think even breached 100. And unless Yoshi... The only way I can lose is if Yoshi gets the happening star right now. Well, even if Yoshi gets the happening star, I'm still gonna win now. And I got the happening star. So I've dominated this. I mean, ultimately, even if I lost, it still counts as... In terms of the game, it still counts towards completing the game. Now, I'm not going to... The hour has come. Bowser has changed his location. And at that point, the text scrolls automatically, so it's hard to... He's already gone. We just missed him. Looking for a bathroom? Liar! Please don't hurt me. Who's that over there? Just in time. And of course, I go ahead and press the... Luigi! You have to go? Alright, I'll see you around. I'm probably just gonna play a very quick, go back to Wario Land briefly, and then, WarioWare briefly, and then end the stream. So, don't worry about it. You caught all the fun action. Transformation Metal Bowser. Metal Bowser has the weight of 10 Bowsers, and it scrolled too fast for me to read. I mean, Luigi already has, like 7 or 8 stars, so I don't know why it's happening that, he only needs 1 star to be powerful enough to throw Bowser. You know, if you watch the Mario anime from the late 80s, that actually depicts Mario beating Bowser by throwing him by the tail. And I wonder if that was an inspiration for how you fight Bowser in Mario 64. The Mario anime is available on YouTube right now. Unfortunately, comments are disabled because it's considered a children's video. You know, thank you, FTC. Or rather, really more thank you, Google, for not enforcing the guidelines to begin with, than the FTC hammering down on you, and you somehow, I guess, paying someone off or convincing the FTC. No, it's those horrible users' fault for having family-friendly content that or something. And I guess the way that whole played out was BS. Because YouTube did not follow the rules, and YouTube and Google didn't follow the rules, and they somehow convinced the FTC that it's the user's fault. So now users go from being afraid to say anything even slightly non-family friendly to being afraid now having to force cursing into videos that otherwise could have been family friendly. So after a long and tiring battle, Mario and his friends finally defeated Bowser, and they lived happily ever after in Mario Land. So after the whole point of this backstory is that they're playing these board game maps to decide who is going to be, who's they're going to name Mario Land after, even though it's already called Mario Land. So after all of this, they decide to call it Mario Land anyway, even though they defeated Bowser. And Wario and Donkey Kong are in the credits, even though I never use them as NPCs. I only play as Luigi in Mario Party games, and I only play with them as NPCs. So we'll let the credits play out. I'll keep running my mouth about maybe my final thoughts on Mario Party 2. I don't know. On one hand, I think they balanced, like, very rarely did I actually win in Mario Party 1, so they softened the difficulty down a lot in Mario Party 2. And, I mean, if this were to be released nowadays, I feel, well, not in Nintendo's case, but I feel like Mario Party 2 nowadays, it would probably be better suited. What's going on here? And why are Mario and Bowser getting along so well? Actually, this is just one with the many attractions in Mario Land. How was it? Did you enjoy it? Oh, okay. Alright, I forgot about that bit. It's saying that this stage show is actually an attraction in Mario Land. The theme park with all these different themed areas. And now we have the credit roll here. Thank you, all you people who helped make this game. It's one of my favorite video games of all time. One of my favorite rentals, one of my favorite N64 games, one of my favorite adventure boards. That's what I'll call them now, because I keep forgetting the official terminology. The adventure boards. Yeah, this probably, nowadays, this would probably be better suited as being like a patch, or well, it's being like a DLC expansion for Mario Party 1, adding new maps and minigames, and a different rule set you could choose to use. Because I think like 70% of these minigames are recycled, like half or 50%. I don't know why, just seeing that Koopa just floating by, that static Koopa model, it's supposed to be just decoration, a different object from the game. But seeing these Koopas floating by lifelessly, I feel like I'm in a sci-fi horror movie in space and they got ejected through the airlock, you know, and suffocated to death. And there's Toad dropping by. Yeah, I feel like this is like a bad ending for like Mario Galaxy or something like that, with all these frozen characters drifting by. There's the train engine from Western Land. Yeah, like a lot of these minigames are recycled from Mario Party 1. Some work basically the same, like Hot Jump Rope. They've changed the rules. For inexplicably in Mario Party 1 Hot Jump Rope, it's the first player to miss loses and the other 3 players win. It made more sense when the last player standing wins, of course. Then in like a lot of the 1 versus 3 minigames are basically all about, in Mario Party 1, most of them, if I remember correctly, are about stealing coins from other players. And they take away the coin stealing mechanics from Mario Party 2. But a lot of the games, they left the same, so they have to, like, okay, how do you make the crane game work when it's not about stealing coins from the first player that the crane player chooses? So it makes it that you have to collect all of the other players to win, but it's not balanced well, there's too much time given, and it's really, to me, the crane game in Mario Party 2 is 100% a giveaway for the person operating the crane. So there's some minigames, and then like the bowling minigame, it sucks with computer players when you're one of the pins, because the computer players bunch around you, whereas when you're with other human players, you and the other human players can strategize. Okay, you go this way, and you two go that way, and we'll split up so he can't get us all. So you can try to strategize more. But yeah, there's certain impressions I have of this game that are... A lot of my impression of this game is painted entirely by the manner in which I only have played this with AIs. So really it's more me learning how to trick the AIs and deal with the AIs as opposed to the human element. And them trying to simulate how humans would act does not work very well. Not so much in the adventure board play, but when in the mini games, sometimes the AI is just not programmed that great. Oh, I haven't... Hello. Okay. Wii U tried to fall asleep there, because I'm playing this in the Wii U Virtual Console. So we'll let the, we'll let the credits play out. we'll see how... hopefully I could actually buy all of the mini-games in the from the minigame tree, so I can unlock some of the other modes and we can play those next time. Then I'll do a single run-through. I'll take a swing at Mario Party 2. I mean, at WarioWare, at its single-player, at the, like, the marathon mode. I'll take a swing at it, see how far I can get just for the heck of it. And then we'll call the stream there. And then, I haven't decided. I'm probably... Well, let's look. Let's see what appointments I have and when I'll be available to stream next week. Yeah, let's do... I think next week... I mean, it's not the end of the stream, but I'm thinking I'm do Tuesday at 3, then Thursday at 9. I think I'll go with those 2 times. Because I've only done one other nighttime stream. Oh, that logo there, I never really noticed that before. I guess it's one of the other companies they contracted for assistance or something like that. Yeah, Tuesday at 3, then Thursday at 9. And I think... I haven't decided on what games yet. I'd like to go back to Sonic the Hedgehog. Maybe I'll go with... I'll do maybe one of the... If I could... Well, we'll see how many... Hey, Bill Trinan. See how many mini-games we could buy from the minigame tree enough to unlock everything. And if it does work out that I could buy most or all of the mini-games enough to unlock the other modes, because I forgot what percentage of the mini-games do you need to unlock to. Mainly I'm concerned with trial mode. If I could unlock trial mode, which is like a mini board game that's good for quick sessions, if I could unlock that, maybe I'll go with trial mode as a way to, you know, something to open the game with, and, you know, open the stream with for, you know, a good half hour to an hour, and then switch to I want to go back to Sonic the Hedgehog 2 because I want to I have unfinished business. I never beat it with all the Chaos Emeralds, and I do want to memorize the sorry, I'm messing. You can tell I'm messing with something over here in the corner. I have a magnet that I use to pin to pin things onto the sidebar of my table, and it is very frustratingly stuck here. I'll use this. Okay, I have something here I could use to get the magnet off. And, you know, it's not essential that I do this right this second. There we go. That's what I was trying to... Okay. It would be really weird if I tried to explain... see you. Yes, I will be back. This is a game we're going to go back to more often than not for just quick sessions to start off or maybe end a stream with. Okay, I was going to say, is this going to be one of those games where it makes you restart, you know, with, you know, actually turn the system on and off? I guess I would have to restart the virtual console playthrough here. So we just beat Mario Party 2. And let's go in, because what I did was, and throughout the streams, I played through each of the adventure maps once, and which are the main themed board games. So I played once in order of difficulty through Pirate Land, then Western Land, then Space Land, then Mystery Land, then Horror Land, and then finally to Bowser Land, which we just beat, and that counts as the end of the game, in terms of... So let's go to Minigame Land and see if the coins we've earned up to this point are enough to buy enough minigames to unlock some of the other modes. Oh wait, actually I do want to leave and come back, because I think you only get to read that flavor text before you buy any minigames, which... So I do want to do that. Let's see. I want to go to Minigame Land. This time I'm going to read Woody the Minigame Tree's flavor text here. Welcome to Minigame Land. This minigame theme park sits nestled in a colorful forest. Once you buy some minigames with the coins you've collected, you can play those minigames here as often as you like. Choose the place you'd like to visit and press the A button. So we have 5,619 coins. Let's see. Minigame park. Okay. You can buy them. You have to buy the minigames from the tree. Okay. Oh, well met. Right now I have 40 minigames. Want to buy a minigame? Choose the minigame you want. 4-player, 20. Wow, they're only... Oh, so we've unlocked the ability to purchase all the minigames. Let's see if we could actually buy them all. Because we've got 5,619 coins from playing each of those maps once. Okay, this isn't going to go as far as I hoped, I don't think. All I have to do is jam A. Fortunately, the interface lets me... Actually, this is... I think I'm going to be able to buy them all in one shot. Looks like you bought all of these minigames. Okay. Yeah, we're going to be able to buy them all in one shot. I mean, heck, you could argue that they should have made these minigames more expensive. Wow, and with the better part of 500 coins left to spare. Oh, I still haven't... Okay, there's one... What is that, a 1 versus 3 minigame? There's one 2 versus 2 minigame that we never actually played in the main modes. So, minigame stadium. I just want to show you this. We're not actually going to start it now. So now we have battle, play random minigames. Trial is my favorite. This is a board game where you only play minigames, and then duel is it's just you play the dual mini games, the 1v1 mini games. So, all right. So I'm going to, even though it's only going to be for maybe no more than 20 minutes, let's play. Switch the stream title to reflect that we're now playing WarioWare Inc. for just a moment. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna back out onto the Virtual Console menu. No, actually. Okay, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna reset. Now close, because I like starting up the software from the title screen, as though I've actually, have an N64 and I'm turning on the cartridge. I mean, at least playing it on an official Nintendo system, even if it is emulation. But Game Boy Advance. I'm gonna fire up WarioWare for just a little while, just to close out the stream. We'll take a single I'll play the skateboard game once. We'll play the jump rope game once. So you can see I didn't prepare this to start up with the Game Boy Advance logo and everything. I didn't do the restart thing like this console is GBA seems a little quieter than N64. So if you need me to turn up the volume, let me know. But we'll play this once, see if we can beat our high score, and we'll play the jump rope game, then we'll play the skateboard game once. Play each of those mini games just once, no do-overs. Oh, yep, so we didn't get it far there. Let's play the skateboard game, then we'll play the jump rope game, and after a single session of each of those, we'll play the easy marathon mode once, and then that'll be the stream. I mean, even though I'm not looking at it, because I'm not playing the game, but just looking at my broadcast software and seeing the Game Boy Advance frame so much, I really do enjoy that. I think I'd like to incorporate that into some of my other streams. Maybe for some of my older, like NES games, I could find like a frame of like an old TV that would exist in like the 80s or 90s. And I mean, I was playing N64 on an 80s TV actually. Could have possibly even been from the late 70s, I don't know. It was like a 30 or 40-inch TV or something like that. It was a big console. It wasn't a that did have some actual wood grain on it, but you know, it was big enough to be a living room TV. But then again, back in the 80s and early 90s, even in the 90s, a living room TV could often be as small as 24 to 30 inches. And yeah, I was busy talking about televisions and ended up dying. So I'll just play the jump rope game once and jump forever. Something like the sardonic nature of these title screens kind of reminds me of some of the games that were on HomestarRunner.com. 1. $76 is the high score. Let's see how far let's see if we could beat 76. We're not trying this again either way, but it's gonna break out into random mode, I think, at 50. Oh, good, it goes faster. Random speed. It's funny how it goes in random speed just as the rhythm starts to actually match up accurately with Spits and Dribbles theme. Because this is okay, shucks. Because it's actually playing another syllable of Spits and Dribbles theme with each jump. Actually, let's not go with easy. Let's go with hard. Let's go with hard and we'll see how far we can get. One shot only at this. We're just doing this once, and once we die here, we'll call the stream. Okay. Starting at hard mode with only one life too. Wow. Oh. Okay. No go backs. I didn't know it would be that hard that we only have one life. Yep, 1 point. We're definitely beating that record next time we play this. But I'm feeling now like maybe I'll go with Mario Party. Yeah, let's go. I think I'm going to go with Mario. Yeah, let's start with I do want to go back. I think we're going to go with WarioWare Trial Mode. They'll start off with WarioWare, and the bulk of the streams next week will be... the bulk of the streams are just going to be going back to Sonic on Game Gear, finding the remaining Chaos Emeralds, because I don't know where the Chaos Emerald in Jungle Zone is. Yeah, I don't know where the Chaos Emerald in Jungle Zone is, and I found the Scrap Brain Chaos Emerald. I don't know, the Jungle and Skybase both have Chaos Emeralds. I have to find them and where they're at, and just getting better at the game, and finally beating the game with all the Chaos Emeralds. Because we didn't do that last time. In the third stream, I did beat the game, but I do want to go back to Sonic 1 and get better at the game, learn where the Jungle and Sky-based Chaos Emeralds are, memorize the maze in Scrap Brain, and then I'll have the skills I need to. I think maybe I'll collect the footage off stream or not. I'll have to see, learn the technical aspects of it. Maybe I'll do streams just for collecting footage where maybe I won't appear on screen. It'll just be full screen gameplay, but just to capture the gameplay so I could put together a walkthrough for Sonic the Hedgehog 1 and maybe do it in a sort of early 90s style, which is also a great excuse for not having the best production values, which I admit is my situation. I don't have time to put in the time and the technical skills for a professional level 2020 video game walkthrough video. But with my limited skills, I can maybe do something reminiscent of the videotapes you might be able to rent in the early 90s with tips for beating video games. So my next streams are going to be Tuesday at 3 and Thursday at 9. And that might be my last nighttime stream for a long time. So no early morning stream next week, but I had great results using a physical hardline cable for the stream this time. No missed frames since I've been using the physical Ethernet cable. Let's see who, and it will take me a while before I update my streaming info, but let's see who's around right now. Let's see who's around I could toss you to. I mean, it is the case that, you know, being a retro streamer, myself, well, I don't really have a lot of viewers now, so I'm actually just gonna go ahead and just end the stream, because I don't even know if I have really any viewers now to throw to anyone. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.